Welcome. This is My Favorite Mortgage Podcast. I'm Jaimie Booth, a licensed loan officer in Arizona and Texas, and you're listening to a newer podcast that lets buyers, sellers, and realtors behind the curtain of the home buying journey. So we want to welcome a returning guest. Third time's a charm.
There you go.
We have Jennifer Martinez here with us today. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me again.
I know. We just have so much fun.
It is true.
It is. I wanted to, we just came off of a long weekend and it's raining and beautiful and cold. But I'm a little behind on something. Would you mind if we write our weekly thank you cards?
I'm in. Yeah, let's do it.
Because I usually write at least 2 or 3 a week.
Okay.
And I brought some extras in case you had someone you wanted to write a thank you card to. So I've got some thank you cards, some envelopes. Okay, so I appreciate this. This is going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
You got it.
And we're going to cue the thank you card music.
All right.
Okay. Ready and... Dear appraiser.
To Android users.
You go first.
That picture you sent. Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Start over?
It's
okay.
okay.
I didn't know if we were doing it at the same time.
I'll do mine and then you do yours.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Okay. Dear appraiser, thank you for calling out the one missing smoking detector. Smoking detector. Because I'm sure the other 5 in the house wouldn't suffice. Sincerely, Jaimie.
My turn. Thank you, Android users. That picture came through so super clear. Green is my favorite color.
Oh, I can relate. Okay. Thank you, group chat creators. The other 37 group chats I'm in absolutely are worth the headache and the multiple dings on my phone. I promise I won't have another episode.
I love group chats. Rip that one up. All right. Thank you, HOA, for never having your budgets prepared or having enough reserves. I guess you don't really want new residents.
Thank you.
So great. You're welcome.
Thank you. So now we're going to get these out in the mail.
I love it.
And yes, the Android users, we love you. So thank you.
Kind of. Can't add anybody else to the group chat. All these restrictions. I hate it.
Oh my gosh.
It's terrible.
The big chat, group chat, work chat, and my phone. I have to silence all of them.
I love them. Except I have to make sure I know which one I'm in because I have a couple that are kind of the same with some of the same people, but it's like some are work.
Yeah.
And then some are not so much work.
And I think that's where I'm frightened of them because I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing in the chat. And yeah. Anywho, so Jay, you've been a realtor for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me 3 things that nobody tells you about becoming a real estate agent?
Oh, wow. Only 3?
For time's sake.
Okay, perfect. Well, nobody tells you that you should get your taxes prepared the moment you start real estate, or at least meet with somebody to tell you how to run your taxes through the year. Because you're 1099, so you don't get taxed when you get a commission. You just get that big old check, put it in the bank, and swipe away. So
you forget about the end of the year tax bill.
Yeah, which is, I think, in the beginning, it's really big for new agents. right?
Yeah.
If they don't know that part.
And also getting set up with the proper maybe LLC or S Corp. That's really great advice.
Yeah.
What else?
That's probably my biggest one. Pick a broker who you feel like you could have a personal conversation with. So for me, the broker support is very important. I have interviewed at a couple different brokerages, and if I go in and I feel the environment is super stiff or super worky and commercial, I'm not about it. This is my livelihood. All the deals are very different, so you need that broker support and perspective, and you need to know that they're going to see things from your side as well, give you obviously what is important in the business side of it, but they need to be able to see your side too. So I think that is super important.
So would you recommend a new agent to interview?
Absolutely. I definitely wouldn't go to just the first one. I would definitely interview.
Got it. What else?
I think when I first started, real quick, let me just touch on this. I was super intimidated because they were like, "Oh, you have to interview the brokers." And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah,
so
you're
just
right.
being
How do I do
comfortable
that?
in that scenario too
Yeah.
is important.
What kind of questions would you ask?
Gosh, that's a good question. I kind of don't know. I think I would have to be in front of them to kind of get the vibe.
So do you do any research? Like maybe the size of the brokerage or how many agents are there? What?
I mean, I don't think that particularly matters. I think the big things for me is just broker support. Like, what does that look like? How often is that available? When is it available?
How easy it is to get that support?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's important.
Of course, what are the fees, right? That's a
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah.
So,
Well, be honest. What is this going to cost me to hang my license here?
right. Absolutely. And what does it feel like inside your brokerage too? I think that's a big one. In the past brokerage I was at, when we started, it was very family oriented. So the agents, we do things for each other. We open doors, take over clients if they were out of town.
Took care of each other.
Yeah, we take care of each other. So that is important too.
Nice. What's the third thing?
Third thing would be,
Some advice for someone even interested in getting the real estate license.
have some money saved up.
Yes.
Because real estate is super cyclical. And there are people who are doing great. There are people doing not so great, but there's going to be at some point a downward.
Some lows.
Absolutely.
It's
so
the
have some
same
money
thing
saved
with
up.
mortgage.
Yeah.
It's commission only. So,
Yeah.
feast or famine.
Yeah, there you go.
And 23 was a little bit on the famine side. So,
I think for a lot of us, but also too, I think just being real about that also too, and just knowing like it is cyclical and it's going to come back around. That doesn't mean sit back and wait, obviously, but yeah, be okay with that. Just have some money saved up.
well, what about something you wish you knew before you got into real estate?
That the real estate industry is, they're like realtors versus lenders. There's not a lot of loyalty, and you got to pick people who you work well with and stick with them, highs and lows. So I think,
Well said.
yeah.
Well said. I can appreciate that more than you know. Which is why you've been on here 3 times.
Thanks.
I really do believe that it really matters who you work with, and as you develop your career and your tribe is what I call the people that I work with that have understanding, that have nobody wakes up in the morning and puts their feet on the ground and says, "I'm going to have a really shitty day today."
Right.
We wake up with good intentions, and having just a little bit of patience and things really goes a long way. So I've grown to appreciate the people that understand that.
Yeah.
And then the ones that don't probably aren't my tribe.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And being able to communicate that. If you feel like there's a lack or a need, have an open and honest conversation. I
Yep.
think, we're all adults, and I do think that there is a benefit to sticking with your people and being loyal.
Yeah, me too. Well, so 2024 is here,
Yeah.
and interest rates are what they are. We did see a little bit of a low in December. It was a good way to end the new year.
Yeah.
So buyers are starting to come off of the fence. They're starting to get antsy and want to make offers. So I had a deal over the weekend that received 7 offers, and my buyer was one of them. And something I always do, or really make an effort to do, is when an agent, one of my agents makes an offer with one of my pre-approved buyers, I will call that listing agent.
I love that.
I will call the listing agent and provide not only my contact info, but do you have any questions on the pre-approval? Is there anything that you didn't understand and want some more clarification on? So I reached out to this listing agent, and he answered. So that was good because I know that house was getting a lot of traction.
Yeah.
So, did my spiel and, introduced myself and let him know how I write my pre-quals are fully underwritten and collected all docs, ran credit. So the loan should be the last thing on anyone's mind. We're
Right.
going to get that through. And he said, we just didn't anticipate how much activity we got. They had 7 offers.
That's amazing.
Unfortunately, we didn't come in first place. We came in backup. So, we'll keep our fingers crossed. But can you explain to our listeners, what does that mean when we've come in backup?
Right. So it means that your offer did not get accepted, but it was a good enough offer that the seller wants to kind of put you in second place. So oftentimes buyers, sometimes they're out of state, they have just certain circumstances, and the 10-day inspection period doesn't go as planned. They back out. Now you're in that next position to be.
So we would
under
get first
contract.
dibs.
Yes, absolutely.
Would we have to compete with anyone else, or it was just like, that's it, we'll take your offer?
That's it. So backup offer means, you're next in line.
Okay.
And hopefully that's communicated, because when you do have an influx of offers like that, sometimes, that's not always the case, but that's typically what it means. It's your backup offer. It was good enough. It was solid. They want it next. Yeah.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. I mean, I guess for a seller, it's good to have that. I don't know that happens as often as I think, because, anything can happen. A buyer gets cold feet, a buyer backs out, a buyer has a life event, and our offer was really good, and he was very, complimentary that and this was on a Sunday. And I called on a Sunday. So he was very, he said no other lender had done that. And I guess for my buyers, I kind of want the first one to fall through. Is that a little selfish?
No, it happens. It happens quite often. So I think being backup is a great position. I always tell my buyers, if I'm in that situation, like, it doesn't mean it's over. And I will personally call as the agent, the seller's agent, like on
Just to
day
get
2,
updates?
on day 4. Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Stay in
Nice.
communication.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this works, because this house checked every single one of their boxes, and it worked. The numbers worked, and the agent and I were kind of like, oh man, if we would have just gone in 5 more, but we don't know what that secret was. We don't know what that little push from the other offer was. We don't know if it was cash. We don't know if they went in higher until it closes, right?
Right.
But buyers are definitely coming back out.
Yeah.
What are some of the things, and I know we were just kind of touching base on it, in a competitive market, what are some things, like the top 4 or 5, that a buyer can negotiate?
Oh, that's a good question. So you can always negotiate your sales price. You can negotiate seller's credits, concessions.
Yes, I love those.
Absolutely, yeah. You can negotiate home warranty. So whether you want it or not, if it's a little bit of a newer property and things look pretty good and they check out, do you need a home warranty? No, not necessarily. So that's negotiable, right? Otherwise, it's a fee that oftentimes buyers ask sellers to pay.
How much? And we've had home warranty on. There's different categories. It's about a $500 to $700?
Yeah, $500 to $750 around there. Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. What else is negotiable? Your closing date is negotiable. Whether you want to have a 10-day inspection period or not, I don't typically mess with that one because I do think that time is important.
Yeah. So you're saying that negotiable is maybe have a shorter?
Yeah, so if you know you have your home inspectors and you can, there's a couple companies that they do all the inspections on the same day, right? So that's super convenient for a buyer and seller, right? If they're in the home. If you know you can get them on day 2, do you really need a 10-day? Not necessarily, so you can shorten that, makes it a little sweeter for the seller. They know that earnest money is going to go hard a lot sooner.
Got it.
It just makes you look a lot
Makes
more
their
serious.
offer stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are some great ones. I know I just meant I love seller concessions, and that's in the higher market or the higher interest rate market. We use those to do permanent buy downs and temporary buy downs, and I really like the 2-1 buy down. I've made lots of videos about that. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Our lovely camera crew has sent us some puns about mortgages. So let's see. Why don't mortgage loans ever get invited to parties?
I don't know.
Because they always bring too much interest. I guess the spotlight gets taken away from the birthday girl. Why did the house go to therapy?
Oh my gosh, so many reasons.
It had too many unresolved issues that it needed a mortgage counselor.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know about these.
They're like dad jokes, but
they are like dad jokes. But with mortgage. Hey, there is something that I wanted to bring up. At the end of last year, I went on a mortgage academy. I went to this event that was a really high intensive event, and my own coach, because yes, I have a business coach.
I love that.
Recommended a book, and it was by an author named Phil Jones, and it's called Exactly What to Say. Now, I had so Catherine recommended this book, so I'm like, I'm going to get it. And because I was traveling, I love reading it at airports and on airplanes.
Yeah, same.
Like I
don't know why.
Prop my computer up and watch a movie. Right. I love the old school reading on airplanes. So I bought this book, and it was very short and easy read. I finished that book for that whole trip with all the travel time. And I thought, this is amazing. I need to share this with my tribe. So I went online, and I'm like, I'm going to order a book for Jay, a book for Eunice. And I started just going down, and I had 10 books, right? So, and I was thinking, everyone's going to get this. We're going to have these magic words. And so I have now this order going. And I place the order, and I get my confirmation. And I said, what would be really cool is if the author could inscribe. And I, just on a whim, looked up his website, found the email for info, and I emailed. And I said, I've got a very close knit, and I love my realtor partners. I think this would be amazing. And he said, you're in luck. I'm in New York this week. I'd be happy to write an inscription. So all of my partners got a book called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. Now, mine was just exactly what to say, and it was more sales. But when I found that he made one exclusively for real estate agents, I was like, okay, Jay's got to have this. And inside, he wrote, change your words, change your world, Phil M. Jones. And I know that you've been reading this, and there's just these magic words, and it's just a different phrase, a different take. Things like you have 3 options, right? There's just so many. By prefacing things with, the good news is, I have been saying that constantly now. The good news is, you cause people to face forward with optimism and zap any negative energy out of the conversation. But it's such an easy read. It took me like 2 days, and this has transformed my 2024 already. Yeah. So I typed up on a Word doc the magic words, so when I'm making my calls, it's just there. And I'm like, the good news is, interest rates won't stay this way forever.
Right. And I think that is the biggest thing with real estate is I think, so many people have had bad experiences that when they're in this situation, it causes so much stress, so much reluctance, right? So it's just using these words to calm their fears, right? Giving them that different mindset about the process.
Right.
And I think anybody who takes the time to learn these things is going to be the time who's going to add value to those people and change their mind about real estate transactions. So I think it is really, really good. I love it so far. It's been great. Thank you so much.
So I wanted to personally thank Phil Jones for doing that for me. It was a whim. I don't think I've ever emailed an author before like that. And he was just great. And
great is
he
that?
did this. So, of course, I kept one for myself.
Yeah.
And, this has changed the way I talk to people in a more positive mindset. And just it's definitely been impactful on me. So I'm glad I was able to share one with you.
Thank you.
And we're kind of reading it together. We should have a book club.
Yeah, I'm in.
Book club.
I love it.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but Jay, for the listeners, I know you've been on a couple times, but share, how does a buyer or seller get in contact with you?
Many ways. So my favorite is through referrals, word of mouth, right? I've serviced a lot of my clients who have now become family to me, and they do a great job of telling other people about my services. So that's my favorite.
And where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, all my contact information. So Instagram is J_your realtor. So you can find me there. TikTok, I don't know my handle on TikTok.
It's all right.
So bad. But I am on TikTok. Facebook also, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
what's a good cell phone number, email address where we can either share that information on to people who reach out to us, or you're willing to share?
So my cell phone number is for you interested in real estate.
Only. Okay? Let's make that real clear.
Just kidding. 520-490-8838. And my email is jay@jsalstucson.com.
Jay does sell Tucson.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And JAY, just, traditional JAY, sells Tucson. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. Always so much fun to have you on, and thanks for working on the thank you cards with me.
Those were great.
I totally stole that idea. Who does Jimmy Fallon
Jimmy
does that.
Fallon, so good. So good.
In this kind of line of business, we just got to keep going and just have some fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't have control of interest
And you
rates.
Android users, come on. Get with the program, please.
You know who we're talking to, Apple. But you can find us streaming on all major platforms, on Apple Music, Spotify. You can follow us on our YouTube channel at My Favorite Mortgage. I am Jaimie Booth. I am here to help you for any of your buying or refinancing needs, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Bye.